Hello guys, welcome to Fiction Quest. So in this video, we will see, what if overpowered Naruto joined Rias's Peerage and they fell in love? If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1. Dimensional D. Ice placement. The air split open with a sound like tearing fabric. A jagged rift of golden light erupted in the sky above Kuo Academy, drawing the attention of students crossing the courtyard below. The tear widened, revealing a swirling vortex of energy before disgorging a single figure who plummeted toward the earth, blonde hair whipping in the wind. Naruto Uzumaki crashed through the canopy of trees at the edge of campus, branches snapping under his weight before he slammed into the ground with enough force to create a small crater. For several seconds, he lay motionless, the golden chakra F6 paths sage mode flickering across his skin before fading. What the hell was that? He groaned, pushing himself to his knees. His head throbbed, memories jumbled and confused. He had been fighting Kagaya alongside Sasuke, their combined power finally pushing the goddess back when her dimensional portal had destabilized. There had been a moment of terrible pressure, the sensation of being pulled in 1,000 directions at once. And then, this. Hey, Kurama, Naruto murmured, closing his eyes to check on his companion. You still with me? Barely, the fox grumbled within his mindscape. That dimensional shift nearly tore us apart. I'm still recovering. Any idea where we are? Not in our world, that much is certain. The natural energy here feels different. Wrong, somehow. Naruto nodded, taking a deep breath as he assessed his surroundings. The trees around him were ordinary enough, but beyond them stood buildings unlike anything in Konoha, massive structure. Of glass and steel rising into the sky. The air carried unfamiliar scents, and even the ambient sounds were strange to his ears. This is definitely not home, he muttered, standing and brushing dirt from his tattered battle gear. He reached out with his senses, feeling the chakra, no, not quite chakra, but something similar, of the people nearby. Most felt ordinary, civilian level, but several C. G natures stood out as dramatically more powerful. None, however, felt like shinobi. I need to figure out where I am, Naruto decided, and then find a way back. Sasuke and the others are still fighting. He took a step forward, then froze as a new sensation prickled at the edge of his awareness. 3 energy signatures, different from the others, moving with predatory intent toward one of the weaker presences. The malice in their aura was unmistakable. Someone's in trouble, he said, then vanished in a flash of speed. Issei Hyodo had been having a perfectly normal, perverted day until 3 men in trench coats cornered him in an empty park on his way home from school. Human, the tallest one sneered, black feathered wings unfurling from his back. You possess something that interests our master. What the hell? Issei stumbled backward, eyes wide at the impossible appendages. What are you? Your worst nightmare, another laughed, a spear of glowing light forming in his hand. But don't worry, this won't hurt much. The spear hurled toward Issei's chest. He raised his arms in a futile defensive gesture, knowing it wouldn't save him. A blur of orange and black intercepted the weapon mid-flight. The spear of light shattered against a palm wrapped in swirling energy, dispersing into particles that faded into the air. Where there had been nothing an instant before, now stood a young man with spiky blonde hair and strange whisker-like marks on his cheeks, wearing a tattered black and orange outfit. 3 against 1 doesn't seem very sporting, the newcomer said, his voice casual despite the deadly situation. Especially when your opponent doesn't even know what's going on. Who the fuck are you? The fallen angel snarled, creating another light spear. The blonde stranger glanced back at Issei. Get somewhere safe. I'll handle this. Issei gaped, still frozen in shock. But they have wings, and light spears, and, trust me, the stranger said with a grin that somehow made Issei believe him. This isn't my first fight against people with weird powers. The fallen angels attacked simultaneously, light spears converging from 3 directions. The blow. NDE stranger moved with impossible speed, dodging 2 spears and catching the third with his bare hand before it could detonate. In the next moment, he was behind the first attacker, a spiraling sphere of energy forming in his palm. Rasengan. The energy slammed into the fallen angel's back, sending him careening through the air to crash into a fountain 50 meters away. Water and debris erupted skyward as the fountain shattered. The other two fallen angels hesitated, their confidence visibly faltering. Impossible, one whispered. No human should have that kind of power. Who said I'm human? The blonde replied with a foxy grin. Now, want to tell me why you're attacking random people, or should I beat the answers out of you? They chose to attack again, more cautiously this time. HT spears rained down as they took to the air, maintaining distance. The stranger weaved through the barrage with fluid grace, then, to Issei's astonishment, ran straight up the trunk of a tree and launched himself into the air. His hands formed rapid, complex gestures. Shadow clone jutsu. With a series of popping sounds, 3 identical copies of the blonde appeared midair. Each clone tackled a fallen angel, dragging them back to Earth with surprising strength. The original landed lightly as his duplicates pinned the struggling attackers to the ground. Now, he said, crouching beside the leader, let's try this again. Why are you attacking this guy? We answer to Lord Kokabeel, the fallen angel spat. The boy possesses a sacred gear that might be the boosted gear. We were ordered to eliminate him before it could awaken. Sacred gear. Boosted gear. The blonde looked confused. What are you talking about? Before the fallen angel could answer, a new presence made itself known. AAC. Rimson magic circle appeared on the ground, expanding outward before disgorging 5 figures, 4 students in what looked like school uniforms, and 1 young woman with flowing crimson hair who carried herself with unmistakable authority. Well, she said, surveying the scene with intelligent turquoise eyes, this is unexpected. Rias Grimori had felt the surge of unknown power from her club room. It had flared like a beacon, utterly foreign yet undeniably potent, followed shortly by the familiar signatures of fallen angels engaged in combat. When she'd teleported her peerage to investigate, she'd expected many things, but not this. A blonde stranger who radiated power like nothing she'd ever encountered stood amid 3 subdued fallen angels, with a very confused-looking Issei Hyodo gawking from the sidelines. Most bizarrely, there appeared to be multiple copies of the blonde, each restraining a different opponent. Bushu, Akano murmured beside her, that power, it's neither demonic nor angelic. What is he? I don't know, Rias admitted, studying the newcomer carefully. His attire was unlike anything she'd seen, and the whisker marks on his cheeks suggested something non-human. Yet he didn't feel like any yokai she was familiar with either. The blonde regarded them warily, his stance shifting subtly to accommodate potential new threats while maintaining control of his prisoners. Let me guess, he said. More people with weird powers. This place is just full of surprises. Rias stepped forward, offering a diplomatic smile. I am Rias Grimori, heir to the House of Grimori. My peerage and I sensed the disturbance and came to investigate. She gestured toward the fallen angels. These are intruders in my territory. May I ask who you are, and how you managed to subdue them so efficiently? The stranger studied her for a long moment, blue eyes sharp with intelligence despite his casual demeanor. Naruto Uzumaki, he finally replied. And I just did what any shinobi would do when seeing innocent people attacked. Shinobi, Kiba echoed from behind Rias. As in ninja, yeah, Naruto said with a shrug. Though I'm getting the feeling that might mean something different here than where I'm from. Rias's mind raced with possibilities. A being of unknown origin with considerable power, unfamiliar with the supernatural world yet powerful enough to defeat fallen angels with ease. The strategic implications were enormous. Perhaps we should continue this conversation somewhere more private, she suggested, glancing toward Issei who was still staring open-mouthed at the proceedings. Both you and Issei-kun here seem to have found yourselves caught in matters beyond the human world. Human world. Naruto's brow furrowed. Just where exactly am I? Kuo Town, Japan, Rias answered. Japan. Naruto's confusion deepened. Never heard of it. Akano and Kiba exchanged glances at this statement. Kaneko narrowed her eyes suspiciously. Impossible. One of the fallen angels laughed weakly. Everyone knows of Japan. What kind of fool do you take us for? Naruto shrugged. Where I come from, the nations are hidden leaf, sand, cloud, mist, stone, and a few smaller countries. No Japan. A heavy silence fell over the group as the implications sank in. Naruto-san, Rias said carefully, I believe we have much to discuss. Will you accompany us to our headquarters? I promise you answers in exchange for your story. Naruto seemed to have an internal debate before nodding. Fine, but what about these guys? He jerked a thumb toward the fallen angels. We'll take them into custody, Rias said. Fallen angels attacking humans in devil territory is a serious breach of the current ceasefire. Devils. Naruto's eyebrows shot up. Like, actual devils. With horns and pitchforks and stuff. Rias couldn't help but laugh. Not quite as the human myths portray us, but yes, devils. With a gesture, she unfurled her wings, elegant, bat-like appendages that emerged from her back. Well, Naruto said with a surprisingly calm acceptance, I guess that explains the weird chakra I'm sensing from you. Different from these guys with the black wings. You can sense our aura? Rias asked, intrigued. That's unusually perceptive for someone not from our world. I'm a sage, Naruto explained as if that clarified everything. Sensing energy is kind of my thing. Rias made a mental note to explore that further. Then perhaps you've already sensed that Issei-kun here is more than an ordinary human as well. Naruto glanced at the confused boy. Yeah, there's something different about his energy. Dormant, but definitely there. Issei looked between them, finally finding his voice. Will someone please tell me what's going on? Wings, devils, energy. Is this some kind of elaborate prank show? Rias smiled sympathetically. No prank, Issei-kun. I've been watching you for some time, waiting for the right moment to approach you. These fallen angels simply forced my hand. Watching me, Issei repeated, a blush spreading across his face. You, the most beautiful girl at Kuo Academy, have been watching me. Naruto snorted. I see perverts are universal across dimensions. Hey, Issei protested, says the guy whose thoughts went to beautiful girl watching him, rather than supernatural being stalking him, Naruto countered with a knowing grin. Rias cleared her throat, amused despite herself. If we could focus on the matter at hand. Akeno, would you prepare a containment circle for our unwelcome guests? Of course, Bushu, Akeno replied with her usual serene smile. Though her eyes kept darting curiously toward Naruto. As Akeno began creating a complex magic circle, Naruto's clones suddenly popped out of existence in small clouds of smoke. Causing everyone except Naruto himself to startle. Sorry, he said, noticing their reactions. Shadow clones dispel when their job is done. Don't worry, I've got these guys. True to his word, despite the disappearance of his duplicates. Naruto had somehow produced glowing golden chains that now bound the fallen angels securely. Fascinating, Rias murmured, studying the construct. I've never seen magic quite like this. It's not magic, it's chakra, Naruto corrected. Though I'm starting to think they might be related somehow. Once the fallen angels were secured within Akeno's containment circle, Rias addressed both newcomers. Shall we continue this discussion at our club room? I believe you both deserve a full explanation. Naruto nodded, his casual demeanor belying the alert watchfulness in his eyes. Lead the way, devil girl. I've got nowhere else to be, apparently. The occult research club room defied Naruto's expectations. He'd anticipated something sinister for a Devi. L's headquarters, perhaps pentagrams on the floor or skulls adorning the walls. Instead, he found himself in what looked like an elegant Victorian sitting room, complete with antique furniture and a crackling fireplace. Nice place, he commented, taking in the ornate woodwork and plush couches. Not very demonic though. What were you expecting? Blood fountains and torture devices? Rias asked with amusement as she settled gracefully behind a desk. Maybe a few sacrificial altars, Naruto replied with a grin, choosing to sit on a couch near the exit, a habit from years of shinobi training. Issei looked distinctly uncomfortable, perched on the edge of another couch with his hands clasped nervously in his lap. The rest of Rias's group, her Peerage, as she'd called them, arranged themselves around the room with practiced ease. I'll make tea, offered the tall, dark-haired beauty Rias had introduced as Akeno. Thank you, Akeno, Rias said before turning her attention to her guests. Now, I believe we have much to explain to both of you, but first, Naruto-san, would you mind telling us how you came to be here? Your arrival created quite the supernatural disturbance. Naruto considered how much to reveal. These people were devils, after all, even if they seemed friendly enough. But he needed information, and holding back wouldn't help him get home. I was in the middle of a battle, he began. A really important one, against an enemy who could manipulate dimensions. Something went wrong with one of her portals, and I got sucked in. Next thing I knew, I was crashing into your world. Fascinating. Rias leaned forward, her turquoise eyes intense. You're saying you're from another dimension entirely. Not just another realm connected to ours like heaven or the underworld. I guess so, Naruto shrugged. Where I'm from, we have the 5 great shinobi nations. People use chakra, a combination of physical and spiritual energy, to perform jutsu. Some of us have tailed beasts sealed inside us. He patted his stomach with a meaningful glance that only Rias seemed to catch. We definitely don't have devils or fallen angels walking around. Tailed beasts. The small white-haired girl, Kaneko, if Naruto remembered correctly, spoke up for the first time, her expression difficult to read. Yeah, 9 of them, Naruto said. Massive creatures made of chakra. I've got the 9 tails, Kurama, sealed inside me. You're a Jinchuriki? Rias asked, surprising Naruto with the familiar term. You know about Jinchuriki? He asked, suddenly more alert. Only from old legends, Rias clarified. There are stories in devil lore about other worlds where great beasts were sealed into human hosts. Most devils consider them myths or exaggerations. Well, I'm living proof they're real, Naruto said. Kurama and I are partners now, though it wasn't always that way. Tell them I said hello, Kurama rumbled sarcastically within Naruto's mind. And ask them if they know how to get us home. Kurama says hi, Naruto relayed with a grin. He also wants to know if you have any idea how to send us back. Rias's eyebrows rose. You can communicate with the entity inside you. Of course, we're friends. This statement seemed to surprise everyone in the room, Issei most of all. Wait, the brown-haired boy interjected. You have a monster inside you, and you're friends with it. And you can just casually chat with it. And none of this seems weird to you. Naruto shrugged. Says the guy who apparently has some kind of sacred whatever dormant inside him. Speaking of which, Rias smoothly redirected the conversation. Perhaps I should explain what's happening to Issei-kun, and then continue our discussion about your situation, Naruto-san. What followed was a concise explanation of sacred gears, the 3 factions, and the current political landscape of this world's supernatural community. Naruto listened attentively, mentally cataloging the information for later discussion with Kurama. The concept of sacred gears, divine tools created by the biblical god and implanted in humans, was particularly interesting. So these fallen angels wanted to kill Issei because you're afraid of his sacred gear awakening. Naruto summarized. Precisely, Rias nodded. The boosted gear is one of the 13 Longinus, sacred gears with the power to kill gods under the right circumstances. If Issei-kun indeed possesses it, he represents a significant potential threat or asset, depending on one's perspective. Issei looked overwhelmed. Me, kill gods. I just want to build a harem and become the harem king. Naruto snorted. At least you've got ambition, perverted or not. As for your situation, Naruto-san, Rias continued, dimensional travel is extremely rare and regulated. Only beings of immense power, like Great Red or Ophis, can easily traverse dimensions. So I'm stuck here, Naruto asked, a hollow feeling spreading in his chest. What about my friends? My village? They need me. I didn't say it was impossible, Rias clarified, merely difficult. My brother, Sirzex, is one of the 4 great Satans who rule the underworld. If anyone would know of a way to help you, it would be him. And would he help? For free? Naruto asked skeptically. Years of dealing with political figures had taught him that powerful leaders rarely offered assistance without expecting something in return. A knowing smile curved Rias's lips. You're more perceptive than you appear, Naruto-san. No, my brother would likely want something in exchange, information, alliance, or service. Figures, Naruto muttered. However, Rias continued, I might be able to help you myself, under the right circumstances. What circumstances? Naruto asked, immediately suspicious of her too innocent expression. Have you noticed that everyone in this room besides you and Issei-kun has a certain similarity in their aura? Rias gestured to her peerage. Naruto nodded slowly. They all feel like you, devils. I'm guessing, but with individual differences. Like they're connected somehow. Very astute, Rias praised. They are members of my peerage, devils who serve the house of Grimoire under my leadership. Each was once something else, human, yokai, or otherwise, before I reincarnated them as devils using these. She opened a drawer and removed a wooden box, which she opened to reveal several chess pieces that glowed with an internal crimson light. Evil pieces, she explained. Created using technology derived from the raiding game, a competitive sport among devils. Each piece grants different attributes and abilities to the reincarnated devil. And you're suggesting I become part of your collection? Naruto asked bluntly. Rather than taking offense, Rias laughed. Direct, aren't you? Yes, that's one option. As a member of my peerage, you would gain access to devil resources and knowledge that might help you return home. You would also gain considerable political protection in this world. And in return, you would serve the House of Grimoire, Rias said simply. How that service manifests would depend on many factors, including your abilities and preferences. What about me? Issei interjected, having been following the conversation with increasing interest. Would I get to be part of your peerage thing too? That was always my intention, Rias confirmed with a smile that made Issei blush furiously. Your sacred gear makes you a valuable potential addition. I'll do it, Issei declared without hesitation. Just like that, Naruto asked incredulously. Yo, willing to become a devil without even thinking about it? Issei gestured toward Rias and Akano. Beautiful women want me to join their club and give me cool powers. What's to think about? Naruto sighed. There's definitely more to think about than that, but I'm not going to lecture you. He turned back to Rias, expression serious. I need time to consider your offer. This isn't a small decision. And I need to discuss it with Kurama. Of course, Rias agreed easily. Take whatever time you need. Though I should warn you, word of your arrival and power will spread quickly through supernatural channels. Other factions may soon take an interest in you. Let them, Naruto said with quiet confidence. I've dealt with people trying to capture or control me my entire life. It's nothing new. Rias studied him with renewed interest. I believe there's quite a story behind that statement. Several, actually, Naruto admitted with a half smile. But they'll have to wait for another time. Where will you stay while you consider my offer? Rias asked practically. Naruto opened his mouth to respond, then closed it as realization dawned. He had no money, no identification, no place to stay in this unfamiliar world. Seeing his predicament, Kiba spoke up. You're welcome to stay with me temporarily. I have a spare room. Thanks, Naruto said, genuinely grateful. I promise I won't be a freeloader. I'm pretty good at odd jobs when I need to be. That won't be necessary, Rias assured him. Consider it Grimoire hospitality, regardless of your ultimate decision. The conversation shifted to logistics, where Kiba lived, what Naruto would need, how to integrate Issei into the peerage. Throughout it all, Naruto remained attentive but distant, part of him still processing the reality that he was stranded in another dimension while his friends continued fighting without him. We'll find a way back, Kurama assured him. We always do. I hope you're right, Naruto thought. I really hope you're right. 3 days passed in a blur of new information and adjustments. Naruto spent much of that time with Kiba, learning the basics of modern society, electricity, automobiles, smartphones, while exploring Kuo Town and its surroundings. The technology fascinated him, so different from the more limited devices of his world. So this little thing can access all human knowledge? Naruto asked, turning Kiba's smartphone over in his hands with the careful touch of someone who expected it to explode at any moment. A significant portion of it, Kiba confirmed with amusement. Though finding accurate information can sometimes be challenging. And everyone has one of these. Most people in developed countries, yes. Naruto whistled appreciatively. The intelligence division back home would kill for this kind of technology. Despite the marvels of this new world, Naruto's thoughts frequently turned to home. Each night, he and Kurama attempted to recreate the sensation of dimensional travel, trying to establish even the faintest connection to their native reality. So far, they'd had no success. The energy here is different, Kurama explained during one such attempt. It's like trying to use water to start a fire. The principles may be similar, but the substance is wrong. On the fourth day, Naruto's exploration of the city was interrupted by an unfamiliar presence, a devil. But not one of Rias's peerage. He tracked the signature to a small cafe, where a beautiful young woman with long black hair sat alone at an outdoor table, sipping tea with serene grace. "You might as well join me," she called without looking up as Naruto observed from across the street. "I've been hoping to meet you." Intrigued, Naruto approached and took the seat opposite her. "You have me at a disadvantage. You know who I am, but I don't know you." "Forgive my rudeness," she said with a gentle smile. "I am Sona Citri, heir to the house of Citri and student council president at Kuo Academy." She extended a slender hand. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Naruto Uzumaki." Naruto shook her hand, noting the calculating intelligence behind her violet eyes. "Rias mentioned you. You're her friend and rival, right?" "Indeed." Sona adjusted her glasses. "We've known each other since childhood. Our families are quite close. So why the secret meeting? Why not introduce yourself at the club room?" "I wanted to speak with you privately," Sona replied, her voice lowering. "About Rias's offer to add you to her peerage." Naruto's eyes narrowed slightly. "What about it?" "I'm concerned for my friend," Sona said bluntly. "You represent an unknown variable of considerable power. Before you make your decision, I would like to understand your intentions." "My intentions are simple," Naruto said. "Find a way home, help people when I can while I'm here, and avoid getting caught up in supernatural politics if possible." "An admirable sentiment," Sona acknowledged, "but perhaps naive. Your mere existence in this world has already created political ripples. The fallen angels you defeated were merely the beginning. Meaning that whether you join Rias's peerage or not, you will be a person of interest to multiple factions. At least as part of a devil household, you would have the protection of the Grimoire name." "You sound like you're trying to convince me to accept her offer," Naruto observed. "I thought you were rivals." A small smile touched Sona's lips. "We compete, yes, but I care deeply for Rias's well-being. And I believe having someone of your abilities in her peerage would be beneficial, especially given her current predicament." "What predicament?" Naruto asked, suddenly alert. Sona studied him for a long moment before responding. "It's not my place to tell you. If Rias hasn't mentioned it, she has her reasons. But I will say this, she needs strength, both physical and moral, in the coming weeks. You strike me as someone who possesses both." Before Naruto could press for details, a new presence made itself known, a surge of power approaching rapidly from above. Both he and Sona looked up to see a figure descending toward them, surrounded by flames that somehow failed to burn the immaculate white suit he wore. "Speaking of Rias's predicaments," Sona murmured as the figure landed elegantly on the street before them, drawing RT-led gasps from nearby humans who could evidently see him despite his dramatic entrance. "Riser has been looking everywhere for his dear Rias," the newcomer announced in a grandiose third-person declaration. "And what does he find instead? The Citri heir conspiring with some unknown entity." His eyes fixed on Naruto with disdainful curiosity. "Who is this, Sona? A new pet for your peerage?" "Riser Phoenix," Sona acknowledged coolly. Standing to face him, "This is hardly the place for such a discussion. Riser goes where Riser pleases," the man replied with insufferable arrogance. "Now answer the question. Who is this boy?" Naruto remained seated, casually sipping the tea that had appeared at their table during the conversation. His relaxed posture belied his internal alertness. This devil radiated power and ego in equal measure. "I'm right here," Naruto said. "You could just ask me directly." Riser's attention snapped to him, eyes narrowing at the casual dismissal of his authority. "Why, oh, you dare address Riser so disrespectfully? Do you know who Riser is, boy? Someone who really likes talking about himself in the third person," Naruto suggested innocently. A flash of anger crossed Riser's handsome features before he mastered himself. "Amusing. Riser is Riser Phoenix, third son of the illustrious house of Phoenix, and betrothed to Rias Grimoire. Remember the name well, for it will so on be tied to the most powerful union in Devil Society." "Betrothed," Naruto echoed, glancing at Sona, who nodded almost imperceptibly. "Indeed," Riser continued, preening. "Our engagement has been arranged since childhood. Rias will be Riser's bride, uniting 2 of the remaining 72 pillars. It is a match of political brilliance. Huh, Naruto said, leaning back in his chair. Funny that Rias mentioned she was engaged when she was recruiting me for her peerage. Riser went very still. Recruiting? You? Sona closed her eyes briefly, as if praying for patience. Yeah, Naruto continued, maintaining his casual demeanor despite the dangerous turn in Riser's aura. She made quite the pitch. Said I'd be a valuable addition. I'm still considering it. As that's so. Riser's voice had pped to a silky purr that didn't disguise the threat beneath. And what, exactly, makes you worthy of joining the peerage of Riser's future wife? Naruto shrugged. I've got some skills. Beat up a few fallen angels who were causing trouble. Nothing special. You defeated fallen angels. Riser's eyebrows rose fractionally. Without being a devil or angel yourself. Interesting. Riser. Sona interjected. This conversation is drawing unnecessary attention. Perhaps we should. Silence. Citri, Riser commanded, never taking his eyes off Naruto. Riser wishes to test this potential servant of his bride. Test. Naruto repeated innocently. A simple demonstration. Riser clarified, a ball of flame appearing in his palm. Show Riser these skills you claim to possess. Naruto finally stood, his relaxed demeanor unchanged but something dangerous flickering in his blue eyes. I don't think that's a good idea. Public place, lots of civilians. Maybe another time. Are you refusing Riser's challenge? The devil demanded, the flames in his hand growing larger. Perhaps you fear Riser's power. Nah, Naruto said with a foxy grin. I just don't want to embarrass you in front of all these people. Riser's composure cracked. The fireball in his hand launched forward, a searing projectile aimed directly at Naruto's chest. Sona moved to intercept, a water shield materializing, but Naruto simply caught the fireball in his bare hand, condensing it to a small, controlled flame that danced harmlessly above his palm. Nice technique, he commented, studying the fire with genuine interest. Good heat, decent control. Back home, we'd call this a C-rank fire jutsu at best, though. With a casual flick of his wrist, Naruto extinguished the flame, leaving no trace of burns on his skin. Riser stared, momentarily shocked into silence. Around them, humans continued their activities, seemingly oblivious to the supernatural confrontation. A perception barrier, Naruto guessed, likely erected by Sona when Riser had appeared. Impossible, Riser finally said. No human could. Who said I'm human? Naruto interrupted with the same words he'd used against the fallen angels. Look, I get it. You're powerful, you're engaged to Rias. You've got a reputation to maintain. But attacking me in public isn't going to accomplish anything except property damage. Riser demands to know what you are, the devil insisted. Flames now wreathing his entire body. I'm a shinobi, Naruto said simply. A ninja from another dimension. And I really don't want to fight you today. Another dimension. Riser looked to Sona for confirmation. Receiving a curt nod. Fascinating. Perhaps you would be a worthy addition to Rias's collection after all. His flames subsided slightly. But make no mistake. You old serve Riser as well once the marriage is complete. Something in Naruto's expression hardened. I don't serve anyone. If I join Rias's peerage, it would be as an ally, not a servant. Riser laughed derisively. Such arrogance. You know nothing of devil society, dimensional traveler. All members of a peerage serve their king. That is the natural order. Maybe I'll change that order, Naruto suggested mildly. The statement hung in the air between them, simple yet heavy with implication. Riser's laughter faltered. You presume much, he said, voice dangerously soft. Riser begins to think you need a more thorough lesson in respect. And I think this conversation is over, Sona interjected firmly, stepping between them. Riser, you've made your point. I suggest you take your concerns to Lord Grimori or Searzex Sama rather than causing an incident here. For a tense moment, it seemed Riser might ignore her. Then he straightened his already immaculate suit and stepped back. Very well, Riser shall depart, for now. He pointed at Naruto. But we will meet again, dimensional traveler. And next time, Riser will not be so merciful. With that dramatic declaration, he vanished in a kolu. MN of flame that scorched the pavement beneath him. Sona sighed deeply. That could have gone better. Sorry, Naruto said, not sounding particularly apologetic. But that guy really rubbed me the wrong way. Is he seriously engaged to Rias? Yes, Sona confirmed grimly. An arranged marriage to preserve the purity of the bloodlines. The devil population has been declining, and the pure-blooded families are desperate to maintain their lineages. And Rias is okay with this. Hardly, Sona said with a bitter smile. She's been fighting the arrangement for years. But her options are limited by devil law and tradition. Naruto fell silent, digesting this new information. The pieces were beginning to align. Rias's interest in recruiting him, Sona's veiled hints about Rias needing strength, Riser's possessive attitude. What happens if she refuses to marry him? She would dishonor her family, potentially trigger a conflict between houses, and likely face significant political consequences, Sona explained. Unless what? Naruto prompted when she hesitated. Unless she can prove her peerage's strength in an official rating game against Riser, Sona finished. Victory would give her grounds to nullify the engagement. And what are her chances in this rating game? Sona adjusted her glasses, expression grave. Riser has participated in numerous rating games. He's experienced, ruthless, and possesses the Phoenix family's regeneration ability. Rias's peerage is talented but inexperienced in formal competition. So not great odds, Naruto summarized. No, Sona agreed softly. Not great at all. Naruto looked up at the sky, his expression thoughtful. After a moment, he returned his gaze to Sona, something determined settling in his blue eyes. Where can I find Rias? I need to talk to her. Rias Grimori sat alone in the Occult Research Club room, staring at the chessboard before her with unseeing eyes. The pieces represented her peerage, incomplete, inexperienced, despite their individual talents. Not enough to face Riser in a rating game. Not enough to win her freedom. A knock at the window startled her from her reverie. She turned to see Naruto crouched on the outside sill, 3 stories above the ground, grinning and waving as if his position was perfectly normal. With a bemused smile, she opened the window. You know, most people use the door, shish. He commented as he hopped lightly into the room. Doors are overrated, Naruto replied, glancing around. You alone. I wanted to talk. My peerage is attending classes, Rias explained. I had some thinking to do. About your engagement? Naruto asked bluntly. Rias stiffened, turquoise eyes widening slightly before narrowing in understanding. You met Riser. Yeah, Naruto confirmed, leaning against the wall. Charming guy. Loves talking about himself. Tried to set me on fire. Despite the gravity of the situation, Rias couldn't help a small laugh. That sounds like Riser. I take it you handled yourself. I think I offended his delicate sensibilities by not immediately cowering in fear, Naruto said with exaggerated solemnity. Also, Sona filled me in on some details you conveniently left out of our previous conversation. Rias sighed, motioning for him to take a seat. I didn't mention the engagement because it wasn't relevant to your situation. My personal problems shouldn't influence your decision about joining my peerage. Except they are relevant, Naruto countered, choosing to remain standing. You're recruiting people into a peerage that's heading for a rating game you don't think you can win. That affects anyone who might join. So Sona told you everything, Rias said, a hint of resignation in her voice. Enough to get the picture, Naruto corrected. Arranged marriage, family pressure. Rating game is your only way out. Stop me if I'm wrong. You're not wrong, Rias admitted, turning to gaze out the window. The marriage was arranged when we were children. As we grew older, I came to realize what kind of person Riser is, arrogant, possessive, viewing me as little more than a prize to be won. I've tried to find legal ways out of the arrangement, but devil contracts are binding. Except if you beat him in this rating game, Naruto prompted. Yes, Rias nodded. If I can prove my peerage's strength equals or exceeds his, I would have grounds to break the engagement. And your chances? Rias's silence was answer enough. Naruto moved closer, leaning against the desk to look directly into her eyes. Why didn't you just tell me this from the start? That you needed help. A flash of pride crossed Rias's features. Because I refused to recruit someone out of pity or obligation. Each member of my peerage joined because they wanted to, not because I manipulated them with my personal problems. Admirable, Naruto acknowledged, but maybe a little stubborn too. Perhaps, Rias conceded with a small smile. Though I suspect you understand stubbornness quite well, Naruto Uzumaki. Guilty as charged, he admitted with a grin. So, when is this rating game supposed to happen? It's not officially scheduled yet, Rias explained. But Riser has been pressuring my family to set a date. After your encounter with him today, I suspect he'll escalate his demands. Then we have some time to prepare, Naruto said casually. Rias's eyes widened slightly. Naruto extended his hand, his expression suddenly serious. I've made my decision. I'll join your peerage, on 2 conditions. Which are? Rias asked cautiously. First, you continue helping me find a way back to my dimension when this is all over, Naruto stated. And second, you promise to be straight with me from now on. No more convenient omissions. Rias considered his hand for a long moment before grasping it firmly. Agreed. Good. Naruto nodded. Now, what piece were you planning to use on me? I don't know much about chess, but I'm guessing different pieces have different strengths. Rias smiled, reaching for the wooden box that contained her evil pieces. Initially, I considered a knight for you. They gain enhanced speed and agility. But after seeing more of your abilities, she opened the box and removed a single crimson piece, a pawn. Naruto frowned. Isn't the pawn the weakest piece? In traditional chess, perhaps, Rias agreed, but in the rating game system, pawns have a special ability called promotion. In enemy territory, they can temporarily assume the characteristics of any other piece except the king. So, versatility, Naruto summarized. Exactly. A pawn with enough power and tactical awareness can be the most unpredictable piece on the board. Rias hesitated. However, given your extraordinary power level, I suspect you'll require multiple pawns to reincarnate. Multiple? How many do you have? 8 in total, Rias explained. I was planning to use all 8 on Issei due to his boosted gear, but now you're thinking of splitting them between us, Naruto finished. Would that work? Rias studied him thoughtfully. It depends on the relative power requirements. We won't know until we try the reincarnation process. This could be interesting. Kurama commented inside Naruto's mind. Devil energy mixing with our chakra might have unexpected effects. Good unexpected or bad unexpected? Naruto silently asked. Unknown, the fox admitted. But worth the risk, I think. We need allies in this world if we're going to find our way home. Let's do it, Naruto decided aloud. What's the procedure? It's relatively simple, Rias explained. Standing and moving to the center of the room. You lie down, I place the pawn pieces on your chest, and channel my power through them. The pieces will determine how many are required and absorb into your body. Sounds straightforward enough, Naruto said, moving to lie down on the floor. Rias knelt beside him, placing a single pawn on his chest. This might feel strange, she warned. Your body will be restructured at a fundamental level. I've had weirder things happen to my body, Naruto assured her with a grin. Kurama's sealed inside me, remember? That I involved having my chakra network completely rewritten as an infant. Fair point, Rias acknowledged, placing her hands over the pawn piece. Ready, Naruto nodded, and Rias began to chant. I, Rias Grimori, heir to the house of Grimori. Call upon this piece to resurrect this person as my devil servant. Return to this world as my pawn. Rise, Naruto Uzumaki. Crimson light enveloped the pawn, which began to sink into Naruto's chest, then suddenly rebounded, hovering above him while glowing an angry red. Insufficient, Rias murmured, reaching for a second pawn. She placed it alongside the first and repeated the process. Again, the pieces resisted. 3, 4, 5 pawns, each addition caused the glow to intensify, but still they refused to complete the reincarnation. Rias's expression grew increasingly concentrated, sweat beading on her brow as she channeled more power into the ritual. 6 pawns, she said, voice strained. The collective glow pulsed, almost there but not quite enough. 7, she continued, adding the penultimate piece. This time, the formation of pawns trembled, hovering on the edge of acceptance. And 8, Rias finished, placing her final pawn in the array. For a breathless moment, Nothing happened. Then the pawns descended slowly into Naruto's chest, the crimson light spreading throughout his body. Inside his mindscape, Kurama roared as unfamiliar energy surged through their shared system. Naruto gasped as power unlike anything he'd felt before coursed through him. It wasn't chakra. It was darker, heavier, yet somehow complementary to his existing energy. The two forces clashed briefly before settling into an uneasy coexistence. Then, suddenly, it was over. Naruto sat up, blinking as his vision adjusted. The world looked different, sharper, with ors he couldn't name at the edges of familiar ones. Did it work? He asked, his voice sounding strange to his own ears. Rias nodded, looking both satisfied and exhausted. All 8 pawns. Just as I suspected. Your power level is extraordinary, even by rating game standards. Naruto flexed his fingers, feeling new strength flowing through them. I feel different. You are different, Rias confirmed. You're a devil now. Enhanced strength, speed, senses, magical potential. Though with your existing abilities, you may not notice much change in those areas. You'll also have longevity far beyond human limits. And these? Naruto asked, gesturing to his back where he could feel an unfamiliar weight. Your wings, Rias explained. Try to manifest them consciously. Naruto concentrated, and with a sound like rustling fabric, a pair of bat-like wings unfurled from his back. Unlike the elegant black appendages of Rias in her peerage, however, Naruto's wings shimmered with a subtle orange undertone that matched Kurama's chakra. Interesting, Rias murmured, studying the unusual coloration. It seems your unique nature has influenced even this aspect of devilhood. Naruto experimentally flexed his new appendages, feeling the muscles respond to his commands. Flying is going to take some getting used to. You'll have time to practice, Rias assured him, before her expression turned serious again. Now that you're officially part of my peerage, Riser will undoubtedly accelerate his demands for the rating game. Let him, Naruto said, a determined glint in his eyes as he retracted his wings. We'll be ready. Bold words, Rias noted with a small smile. But Riser has experience, numbers, and his family's immortality on his side. And we have the future Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village. Naruto countered with his signature confidence. Trust me, Rias, this isn't my first impossible fight, and it won't be my last. As if summoned by his declaration, a magic circle sudden Y appeared on the floor. Not the crimson of the Gremory family, but a bright orange gold that could only belong to House Phoenix. Speaking of Riser, Rias said grimly, it seems we're about to have company. The circle expanded, flaring with flame as a figure materialized within. Riser Phoenix, his expression thunderous as his gaze fixed on Naruto. So, he said, voice dangerously soft, it appears Iser's bride has been busy while he was away. Naruto stood beside Rias, his new devil energy mingling with Kurama's chakra as he prepared to face whatever came next. The battle lines were drawn, the pieces placed. The game had begun. Chapter 1 end. Chapter 2. Devil's Bargain. The tension in the Occult Research Club room crackled like static electricity. Flames danced around Riser's form as he glared at Naruto, who stood calmly beside Rias with the faintest hint of orange energy shimmering across his skin. You dare, Riser hissed, abandoning his usual third-person affectation in his anger. You dare to take this dimensional vagrant into your peerage without consulting me. I don't need your permission to build my peerage, Riser, Rias replied coolly. The House of Gremory's affairs remain its own until marriage contracts are finalized. A technicality you exploit too freely, Riser snapped, his composure slipping further. His gaze shifted to Naruto. And you spoke of considering her offer mere hours ago. Yet here you stand, already converted. Was this planned? A deliberate insult to House Phoenix? Naruto shrugged. Not everything's about you, Riser. I made my decision after seeing how you treated Rias, like property instead of a person. She is my betrothed. She's her own person first, Naruto countered. Where I come from, we don't force people to marry against their will. Riser's laugh was sharp and mocking. How quaint. You bring the primitive morality of your dimension into ours and expect us to adapt. Devil marriages have been arranged for strategic advantage for millennia. Maybe it's time for some new traditions, Naruto suggested. The flames around Riser intensified, scorching the expensive carpet. You've made a grave error, dimensional traveler. Do you realize what you've done? Her 8 pawns, wasted on you. He turned accusingly toward Rias. Your strategy is transparent. You hope this new piece will save you in our inevitable rating game. If you're so confident in your victory, what does it matter who I recruit? Rias asked, one eyebrow raised in challenge. It matters because it delays the inevitable, Riser growled. No more games, Rias. No more postponements. I demand our rating game be scheduled immediately. By devil law, I'm entitled to preparation time, Rias countered. My peerage includes new members who need training. Fine. Riser conceded with visible restraint. Riser is merciful. You shall have 10 days. 20. Rias countered. 15. Riser snapped. Not 1 day more. In 15 days, we meet in the rating game arena, and this charade ends. Quote. Naruto opened his mouth to interject, but Rias placed a restraining hand on his arm and nodded. 15 days. We accept. Good. Riser's composure returned like a mask sliding back into place. Riser looks forward to crushing your little collection of misfits and bringing you home where you belong. His eyes lingered on Naruto. Especially your new attack dog. I'm more of a fox person. Actually, Naruto replied with a deliberate grin. Something dangerous flashed in Riser's eyes. You won't be smiling when Riser is finished with you. He snapped his fingers, and a magic circle appeared beside him, manifesting 15 figures, his complete peerage, all female, all regarding Naruto and Rias with expressions ranging from contempt to curiosity. Behold what you face, Riser announced proudly. 15 pieces of perfection, each trained extensively in the rating game. What do you have? A half-blood knight, a failed nun, a Nekomata runt, and now a dimensional refugee. Pathetic. Naruto stepped forward, his casual demeanor unchanged despite the intimidation tactic. Quality over quantity. I've seen bigger odds. Bold words, said a young woman with long blue hair, stepping to Riser's side, but the outcome is predetermined. Our master has never lost a rating game. There's always a first time, Naruto replied with easy confidence. Riser laughed. We shall see. Dimensional traveler. We shall see. He turned to Rias with a mocking bow. 15 days, my dear fiancé. I suggest you use them wisely. With a flare of flames, Riser and his peerage vanished, leaving behind only scorched carpet and the lingering scent of brimstone. The moment they disappeared, Rias's shoulders slumped slightly. That could have gone worse. Could have gone better, too, Naruto observed. 15 days isn't much time. It's not, Rias agreed, moving to her desk where she activated a communication circle. Akeno, gather everyone. Emergency meeting at the club room. Yes, including Issei. She paused. We have a rating game in 15 days. As she ended the communication, Naruto tilted his head curiously. So what exactly is our strategy here? I'm guessing it's not just throw the new guy at them and hope for the best. A smile tugged at Rias's lips despite the gravity of the situation. No, though I won't deny your power is a significant factor in my calculations. We need to approach this systematically. She gestured toward the chessboard on her desk. The rating game follows chess rules, broadly speaking. Each piece has specific movement capabilities and strengths. And I'm all your pawns, Naruto said, studying the white pieces on the board. That limits our flexibility, doesn't it? In some ways, Rias acknowledged. But it also means you have the promotion ability in enemy territory. Combined with your, what did you call it? 6 paths sage mode. Among other techniques, Naruto confirmed. Kurama and I have quite a few tricks up our sleeve. Good. We'll need all of them. The door opened as Akeno arrived first, her usual serene expression replaced by concern. Bushu, is it true? Riser has forced the issue. Yes, Rias confirmed. We have 15 days to prepare. Akeno's eyes shifted to Naruto, widening slightly at the subtle changes in his appearance, the sharper canines, the faintly luminescent quality to his blue eyes. You've joined us, then. Naruto nodded. All 8 pawns, apparently. 8. Akeno looked genuinely surprised. Even with the boosted gear, Issei only required 8. For you to need the same. We can discuss power assessments later, Rias interjected as Kiba and Kaneko entered the room, followed shortly by a confused-looking Issei. Everyone, take a seat. We have much to discuss and not much time. A training retreat, Issei repeated incredulously. Like a summer camp or something. More like a boot camp, Rias corrected. Intensive training to prepare for the raiding game. We'll use my family's villa in the mountains. It's isolated and has special barriers that will allow us to train at full capacity without detection. The entire peerage had gathered in the club room as Rias outlined her plan. Issei, newly reincarnated as a devil using a borrowed pawn from an ally of the Grimoire family, looked simultaneously excited and terrified at the prospect of facing Riser's team. Will 15 days be enough? Kiba asked, his usual cheerful expression replaced by thoughtful concern. Riser's team has years of experience working together. We have quality on our side, Rias insisted. Each of you has unique abilities that, properly developed and coordinated, can counter Riser's advantages. And we have Naruto, Kaneko added quietly, glancing at the blonde shinobi who stood by the window. Apparently lost in thought, Naruto turned at the mention of his name. I'm just one piece of the puzzle. From what I understand about these raiding games, teamwork matters as much as individual power. Indeed, Rias agreed, which is why our training will focus not just on strengthening individual abilities, but on coordination and strategy. When do we leave? Akeno asked practically. Tonight, Rias decided. Every hour counts. Pack essentials only. Training gear, weapons, and personal items. The villa has everything else we'll need. As the meeting broke up, Naruto approached Rias while the others departed to prepare. Hey, can I talk to you for a minute? Rias nodded, waiting until they were alone before speaking. What's on your mind? I've been thinking about what I saw of Riser's peerage. Naruto said. Something seemed off. Off how? Their dynamics, Naruto explained. The way they positioned themselves, their body language. They're not a team, they're subordinates. There's no real connection there. Rias considered this. Riser views his peerage as a collection rather than a family. Beautiful women chosen for appearance as much as ability. And that's an advantage for us. Naruto pointed out. In my world, I've seen how genuine bonds make a team stronger than the sum of its parts. Riser's peerage might be individually powerful, but I'd bet that. Why don't support each other the way a real team does? A slow smile spread across Rias's face. An astute observation, Naruto. I've been so focused on our disadvantages that I overlooked our greatest strength. Which is, us, Rias said simply. The bonds between my peerage members. We fight for each other, not just for me. Exactly, Naruto nodded. So our training shouldn't just be about getting stronger individually. It should reinforce those connections. Rias studied him with new appreciation. You have experience with this kind of training. Some, Naruto admitted with a reminiscent smile. Back in the Hidden Leaf, I was part of Team 7. Our sensei, Kakashi, was big on teamwork exercises. His favorite saying was that those who abandon their friends are worse than trash. A wise teacher, Rias observed. I'd like to hear more about your world sometime, when we're not preparing for battle. It's a deal, Naruto agreed. Though I should warn you, some of my stories are pretty hard to believe. Says the dimensional traveler talking to a devil, Rias replied with a playful smirk. Their shared laughter eased some of the tension that had built since Riser's visit. For a brief moment, they weren't a king and her pawn preparing for a crucial battle, just two young people finding unexpected common ground. The moment ended when Naruto's expression grew serious again. One more thing. During the training, I think I should work with everyone, not just focus on my own abilities. What do you mean? In my world, I've learned techniques from many different shinobi, Naruto explained. Some of them might be adaptable to the abilities your peerage already has. At the very least, I can help with tactical training. You continue to surprise me, Rias said. Most new devils will be focused solely on mastering their own powers. Naruto shrugged. Where I come from, the strongest shinobi aren't necessarily those with the most jutsu, they're the ones who know how to work with others to multiply their effectiveness. Then that will be our approach, Rias decided. Now go pack. We have a long journey ahead and not much time. The Grimoire Mountain Villa proved to be far more than the rustic retreat Naruto had expected. Nestled in a valley between towering peaks, the sprawling complex included training grounds, hot springs, and a main house that could comfortably house 20 people. This is your idea of a villa? Naruto asked as they arrived via teleportation circle. It's bigger than the Hokage residence. The Grimoire family has resources, Rias explained with a slightly embarrassed smile. This property has been in our family for centuries. It's perfect for our needs, Akeno added, already organizing their supplies. The barrier surrounding the valley will contain any energy emissions from our training. After settling into their assigned rooms, the group gathered in the main hall where Rias had prepared a whiteboard displaying a training schedule. We have 15 days, she began without preamble. Each day will focus on specific aspects of our preparation. Mornings will be physical conditioning and individual power development. Afternoons will be tactical training and team coordination. Evenings will be strategy sessions, studying Riser's known techniques and developing counters. She turned to Naruto. You mentioned sharing some of your techniques. What did you have in mind? Naruto stepped forward. I've been thinking about each of your abilities and how they might align with shinobi techniques from my world. He pointed to Kiba. Yo, speed and swordsmanship remind me of techniques used by samurai in the Land of Iron. I can teach you chakra flow methods that might enhance your blade work. Kiba looked intrigued. Even though I use demonic energy rather than chakra, the principles should translate, Naruto assured him. It's about control and visualization more than the specific energy type. He turned to Kaneko. Your stray, NGTH and endurance make me think of Guken, the strong fist style used by my friend Rock Lee. With some adaptations, it could complement your natural abilities. The small white-haired girl nodded silently, though her eyes showed interest. Akeno, your lightning powers are similar to the Raiden techniques used in my world, Naruto continued. I know several approaches that might help with precision and reducing energy consumption. That would be most helpful, Akeno agreed with a gracious smile. And Issei, Naruto said, turning to the newest devil. From what Rias has told me about the boosted gear, it sounds like you need help with power management and duration. I've spent years learning to control massive energy reserves, I think I can help. Issei straightened with visible enthusiasm. Really, that would be awesome. As for you, Bushu, Naruto concluded, facing Rias. Your power of destruction is unlike anything I've encountered, but the principles of focus and control apply to all powerful techniques. We can work on efficiency and tactical application. Rias nodded, clearly impressed by his analysis. A comprehensive approach. Let's begin immediately. What followed was the most intense training regimen Naruto had experienced since his preparations for the 4th Great Ninja War. Each day began before dawn with physical conditioning that left even the supernaturally resilient devils gasping for breath. Naruto introduced training methods developed by Guy and Kakashi, weighted clothing, chakra control exercises adapted for demonic power, and endurance drills that pushed everyone to their limits and beyond. On the 3rd day, during a rare break, Issei collapsed beside Naruto on the training field. I'm dying, he groaned dramatically. How are you not exhausted? You're doing everything we are. Plus teaching. Naruto grinned, barely winded despite the hours of intense activity. Endurance has always been my thing. Plus, I've been through worse training than this. Worse than this? Issei looked horrified. What kind of hellish dimension did you come from? A dimension where children become soldiers before they're teenagers, Naruto replied, his smile fading slightly. Where war is normal and peace is the exception. Issei sobered at this unexpected glimpse into Naruto's past. Sorry, I didn't mean to. It's fine, Naruto assured him. My world has its problems. But it also has people worth fighting for. Just like this one. His gaze drifted to where Rias was practicing precision control of her power of destruction, dissolving small targets while leaving adjacent ones untouched. Issei followed his line of sight and smiled knowingly. She's something special, isn't she? She is, Naruto agreed without hesitation. Reminds me of the 5th Hokage in some ways, strong, smart, and determined to protect her people. Hokage, leader of my village, Naruto explained. The strongest shinobi and the person who protects everyone. It's been my dream to become Hokage someday. So you're like, trying to become president of Ninja Town? Issei asked, making Naruto laugh. Something like that, though it's about more than just power. The best Hokage is the one who cares most deeply for the village and everyone in it. Issei studied him with unexpected perception. You miss it, don't you? Your world. Every day, Naruto admitted quietly. I had friends there, people who depended on me. A war that wasn't finished. Responsibilities I can't fulfill while I'm here. But you're still helping us, Issei noted. Even with all that weighing on you. Naruto shrugged. That's what shinobi do. We adapt, we survive, we protect those we can. Besides, helping Rias win her freedom might help me find a way home eventually. How's that? If we win, her B. Rother Searsex might be grateful enough to help research dimensional travel, Naruto explained. It's a long shot, but better than nothing. Issei nodded, then pushed himself to his feet with a groan. Well, I guess I better get back to training then. Can't let you down after hearing all that. As Issei trudged back toward the training area, Naruto remained seated for a moment longer, watching as each member of Rias's peerage pushed themselves beyond what they thought possible. Kiba's swords now shimmered with a faint energy coating similar to chakra flow techniques. Kaneko had incorporated elements of the strong fist style into her already formidable physical attacks. Akino's lightning manifestations had gained precision and efficiency. And Issei, despite his complaints, was making remarkable progress with his sacred gear. Able to maintain multiple boosts without exhaustion. They were becoming a team, not just a collection of individuals. Just as importantly, they were becoming friends. You're getting attached, Kurama observed within Naruto's mind. Is that a problem? Naruto silently replied. Not necessarily, the fox conceded. But don't forget why we're here. This isn't our world, and these aren't our people. They're people who need help, Naruto countered. That's enough for me. Kurama rumbled something that might have been approval or resignation. Just be careful. The more roots you put down here, the harder it will be to leave when the time comes. If the time comes, Naruto corrected, watching as Rias successfully executed a particularly difficult control exercise, her face lighting up with triumph. Something warm stirred in his chest at the sight. Indeed, Kurama agreed softly. If, on the 7th day of training, an unexpected visitor arrived at the villa. The group was engaged in a tactical exercise, with Kiba and Naruto simulating members of Riser's Peerage while the others practiced coordinated defense, when a massive magic circle appeared in the center of the training field. The crimson sigil of House Grimori expanded, far larger and more intricate than Rias's transportation circle. Brother, Rias murmured, immediately calling a halt to the exercise. The figure that materialized from the circle radiated power on a scale Naruto had rarely encountered, comparable to the cage of his world, perhaps even beyond. Tall and handsome with the same crimson hair as Rias, he wore elaborate robes that marked him as someone of great importance. Despite his regal bearing, his smile was warm as his gaze fell upon his sister. Rias, he greeted, opening his arms. Working hard, I see. Rias embraced him briefly before stepping back. Searsex, this is unexpected. Word travels quickly about raiding games involving the great houses, Searsex replied. His eyes scanning the assembled peerage with interest. Especially when one of the participants has acquired a piece that consumed 8 pawns. His gaze settled on Naruto, who met it evenly. There was something calculating behind the warmth in those eyes, the look of a leader assessing a potential asset or threat. You must be Naruto Uzumaki, Searsex said, extending a hand. The dimensional traveler I've heard so much about. Naruto clasped the offered hand, noting the carefully controlled strength in the grip. And you're Searsex Lucifer, one of the 4 great Satans. Rias has mentioned you. All good things, I hope. Searsex replied with a chuckle, though his eyes remained evaluative. I've been quite curious about you. It's not every day someone crosses dimensions and joins my sister's peerage in the span of a week. It's been an eventful few days, Naruto acknowledged. Indeed. Searsex turned to address the group. Please, don't let my presence interrupt your training. In fact, I'd like to observe. If you don't mind, perhaps even offer some guidance. Rias nodded, though Naruto noted a slight tension in her posture. Of course, brother, we welcome any assistance you can provide. As the training resumed, Searsex moved to stand beside Naruto, who had stepped aside momentarily. My sister seems to have great faith in your abilities, Searsex commented, his voice pitched for Naruto's ears alone. I'll do my best not to disappoint her, Naruto replied simply. From what I've heard, your best is quite remarkable. Sears studied him openly now. Defeating fallen angels with ease. Handling risers flames bare-handed, requiring 8 pawns for reincarnation. You're either exactly what you appear to be, a powerful being from another dimension, or something else entirely. Something else like what? Naruto asked, meeting his gaze steadily. That's what I came to determine, Sears admitted. The timing of your appearance, just when my sister needs RFUL allies against her arranged marriage. It's convenient, wouldn't you say? Understanding dawned on Naruto. You think I might be working with Riser? Or someone else with an agenda? It's my responsibility to consider all possibilities, Sears replied, neither confirming nor denying. Fair enough, Naruto conceded. So what would convince you that I am who I say I am? A smile played at the corners of Sears' mouth. A demonstration, perhaps, something that could only come from outside our world's power systems. Naruto considered this, then nodded. All right, but not here. I don't want to interrupt everyone's training. They moved to a secluded area of the training grounds, separated from the main group by a stand of trees. Once they were alone, Naruto formed a familiar hand sign. Shadow Clone Jutsu. With a series of pops, 20 perfect copies of Naruto appeared, each solid and independent. Unlike illusions or projections common to devil magic, these clones had individual chakra signatures and could act autonomously. Impressive, Sears acknowledged, but not entirely beyond the capabilities of our world's magic systems. That was just the warm-up, Naruto said. Each clone extended a hand, and swirling spheres of energy began to form above their palms. Rasengan, Naruto explained as Sears watched with growing interest. A technique created by the 4th Hokage, my father. Pure chakra manipulation without an elemental affinity. Fascinating, Sears murmured, studying the rotating spheres. The energy pattern is unlike any I've encountered. And this, Naruto continued, dispelling the clones and closing his eyes, is what happens when I combine natural energy with my chakra. Orange pigmentation appeared around Naruto's eyes as he entered Sage mode. When he reopened his eyes, they had transformed from blue to yellow with horizontal bar pupils. The change in his aura was immediate and dramatic, a dense, powerful energy that seemed to connect him to the very environment around them. Natural energy, Sears repeated, genuine amazement now visible on his face. You can absorb and utilize the ambient energy of the world itself. It's called Sage mode, Naruto explained. Took years to master. It enhances physical attributes, sensory capabilities, and chakra potency. And this is a common ability in your world. Naruto shook his head. No, very few shinobi ever master it. The training is difficult and dangerous. Fail, and you turn to stone. Remarkable, Sears said softly. Truly remarkable. But Naruto wasn't finished. With a deep breath, he closed his eyes again, reaching deeper within himself to where Kurama waited. Are you sure about this? The fox asked. Showing him our full power might not be wise. We need his trust, Naruto replied. And to get that, we need to be honest about what we can do. Kurama grudgingly agreed, and Naruto felt the fox's chakra surge through their shared pathways. Golden light erupted around his body as he entered Six Paths Sage mode, his skin emitting a radiant glow and his eyes transforming to a pattern that combined his Sage mode with something more profound. Sears took an involuntary step back, his composed demeanor briefly slipping to reveal genuine shock. This power, it's divine in nature. Six Paths Sage mode, Naruto explained, his voice resonating with dual tones as Kurama's influence manifested. The ultimate combination of my chakra, Kurama's power, and the Six Paths chakra given to me by the Sage of Six Paths himself. Extraordinary, Sears whispered. No W. Under Rias required 8 pawns to reincarnate you. Your power, it rivals that of the heavenly dragons. Naruto allowed the golden aura to fade, returning to his normal appearance. Convinced now, Sears studied him for a long moment before nodding. Yes, I believe I am. You are exactly what you appear to be, a visitor from another realm with powers unlike any in our world. Good, Naruto said, relief evident in his voice. Because I really am here to help Rias. My goal is to find a way home eventually, but until then, I'm committed to helping her win her freedom. May I ask why? Sears inquired, his tone genuinely curious. You barely know my sister. Why risk yourself in her battles? Naruto considered the question. Where I come from, we don't abandon people who need help. It's my ninja way. Besides, Rias was willing to help me when I had nowhere to go. I return loyalty with loyalty. A slow smile spread across Sears's face. An admirable philosophy. Very well, Naruto Uzumaki. You have my trust, for now. And perhaps, after this raiding game is concluded, we might discuss your dimensional situation in more detail. The resources of the Devil King might prove useful in finding you a way home. I'd appreciate that, Naruto said sincerely. As they rejoined the training session, Naruto caught Rias watching them with a mixture of curiosity and concern. He gave her a subtle nod of reassurance, and the tension in her shoulders visibly eased. Sears remained for the rest of the day, offering valuable insights into Riser's likely strategies and occasional corrections to their tactical approaches. By the time he departed that evening, even Kaneko had warmed to his presence, asking technical questions about power control that he answered with surprising patience. After dinner, Rias found Naruto sitting alone on the villa's roof, gazing up at the unfamiliar stars of this world's night sky. May I join you? She asked. Naruto nodded, patting the space beside him. Your brother's pretty impressive, not what I expected from someone called Lucifer. The title is more administrative than religious these days, Rias explained, settling gracefully beside him. What did you two discuss in private? He wanted proof that I'm really from another dimension, Naruto said. Can't blame him for being suspicious. I showed him some of my techniques that couldn't exist in your world. And he was satisfied. Seemed to be, Naruto confirmed. He even offered to help research dimensional travel after the raiding game. If we win. When we win, Rias corrected with quiet determination. My brother doesn't offer his assistance lightly. You must have impressed him. Naruto shrugged. I just showed him who I am. No tricks, no exaggerations. They fell into comfortable silence, both gazing at the stars above. After several minutes, Rias spoke again. You miss your world, don't you? Yeah, Naruto admitted, but it's not just the place. It's the people, my friends, my teachers. People I promised to protect. He paused. There was a war happening when I was pulled away. People fighting and dying. I don't know if they're okay without me there. Rias turned to study his profile. Moonlight silvering his features. You carry a heavy burden for someone so young. No heavier than yours, Naruto countered. Leading a peerage, fighting for your freedom, carrying your family's expectations. That's not exactly light stuff either. A small smile touched Rias's lips. Perhaps that's why we understand each other. Maybe, Naruto agreed. In my world, there's a saying. Shared pain creates stronger bonds than shared joy. Wise words, Rias murmured. Though perhaps we can hope for some joy to share as well, eventually. Something warm flickered in Naruto's chest at her words. I'd like that. Their eyes met briefly before Rias looked away, a faint blush coloring her cheeks. We should rest. Tomorrow's training will be demanding. As they made their way back inside, Naruto found himself increasingly aware of Rias's presence beside him, the subtle floral scent of her hair, the graceful confidence in her movements, the quiet strength she carried without ostentation. Careful, Kit, Kurama warned within his mind, though there was more amusement than censure in the fox's tone. Remember what I said about putting down roots? I remember, Naruto acknowledged silently. But some connections are worth making, even if they're temporary. The fox made a non-committal sound that might have been agreement before retreating deeper into their shared mindscape, leaving Naruto to his increasingly complicated emotions. The remaining days of training passed in a blur of intensity. By the 13th day, the transformation in Rias's peerage was remarkable. Hiba's speed had increased to the point where even Naruto had trouble tracking him without Sage Mode. Kaneko's strength and technique had refined into a devastating combat style that combined economy of movement with devastating power. Akino's control over lightning had expanded to include precision strikes that could target multiple opponents simultaneously. Issei, perhaps most surprisingly, had made tremendous strides with his sacred gear. Under Naruto's guidance, he'd learned to channel his power more efficiently, maintaining his boosted gear for extended periods without exhaustion. And Rias hers. LF had developed new applications for her power of destruction, including a technique inspired by Naruto's Rasengan that concentrated the destructive energy into a controllable sphere. On the evening, before they were scheduled to return to Kuo Town, Rias called them together for a final strategy session. "You've all exceeded my expectations," she said, pride evident in her voice. "In just 2 weeks, you've grown more than I thought possible. Much of that growth is thanks to Naruto's training methods," Kiba pointed out, giving the blonde shinobi a respectful nod. "I've never pushed my limits so far. I merely provided structure," Naruto deflected. "You did the hard work yourselves." "Either way," Rias continued, "we're now ready to discuss our final strategy for the raiding game." Shige steered to a detailed map of the battlefield they would be using, a replica of Kuo Academy and its grounds. "Our intelligence suggests Riser will employ a defensive strategy initially, using his Ruka ND Knights to create a perimeter while his Queen and Bishop support from range." "Typical Riser," Akeno commented. "Always letting others take the risks while he remains safely behind. Which gives us an opportunity," Naruto pointed out, leaning forward to indicate specific points on the map. "If we can penetrate their perimeter quickly and create chaos in their ranks, they'll struggle to maintain formation." "Agreed," Rias said, "which is why our strategy will be divided into 3 phases. First, Kiba and Kaneko will engage their forward positions here and here, drawing attention while appearing to be our main thrust. Meanwhile," Akeno continued, clearly familiar with the plan, "I'll create a diversionary attack from above, forcing their ranged fighters to focus upward." During this confusion, Rias finished. "Naruto and Issei will penetrate their territory from this unexpected angle, with Naruto using his shadow clones to multiply our apparent numbers. And once in enemy territory, I can promote," Naruto added. "Becoming a queen will maximize my versatility. While I boost as many times as possible before engaging," Issei said, showing a surprising grasp of tactics that had developed over the training period. Rias nodded approvingly. "The goal is to eliminate as many of Riser's pieces as possible before confronting him directly. His regeneration makes him difficult to defeat conventionally. But if we can exhaust him first, we need to hit him with something so powerful he can't regenerate," Naruto concluded. "That's where Issei's boosted gear and my Sage Mode Bind with your power of destruction come in." "Precisely," Rias confirmed. "A 3-pronged attack that even Finek's regeneration can't overcome." The discussion continued late into the night, refining details and contingencies for various scenarios. When they finally dispersed to rest, the mood was one of cautious optimism. They were still underdogs, but no longer hopelessly outmatched. As Naruto prepared for bed, a knock came at his door. Opening it, he found Rias standing in the hallway, her expression composed but with an undercurrent of tension visible in her eyes. "May I come in?" she asked quietly. Naruto stepped aside, allowing her to enter before closing the door. "Everything okay?" "Yes," Rias said, though she remained standing near the door, hands clasped before her. "I wanted tea. Oh, thank you personally for everything you've done these past 2 weeks. Not just the training, but the perspective you've brought." "I haven't done anything special," Naruto demurred. "You have," Rias insisted. "Before you arrived, I was desperate, grasping at any advantage I could find. But you showed me that true strength comes from bonds and trust, not just power." She took a deep breath. "Whatever happens tomorrow, I want you to know that I'm grateful our paths crossed," Naruto Uzumaki. The sincerity in her voice stirred something in Naruto's chest. "I'm grateful too, Rias. When I first arrived here, I was lost and alone. You gave me purpose and friends. Is that all I gave you?" Rias asked, her gaze suddenly direct and searching. "Friendship." Naruto felt his heart rate accelerate at the question and the intent behind it. "I think we both know it's becoming more than that." The admission hung in the air between them, honest and vulnerable. Rias took a step closer. "After tomorrow," she said softly. "Win or lose, things will change. If we win, I'll be free of Riser but face political consequences. If we lose," she didn't finish the thought. "We're going to win," Naruto said with quiet certainty. "Such confidence," Rias murmured with a small smile. "Is that the ninja way too?" "No," Naruto replied, closing the distance between them. "That's just me being stubborn. Their eyes held for a long moment before Rias nodded, as if coming to a decision. She leaned forward and pressed a gentle kiss to his cheek. For luck, she explained, drawing back with a faint blush. Rest well, Naruto. Tomorrow, we fight for our future. As the door closed behind her, Naruto touched his cheek, the warmth of her lips still lingering on his skin. Well, that was interesting, Kurama commented dryly. Shut up, Kurama, Naruto replied without heat, a smile tugging at his lips as he prepared for bed. Just remember that tomorrow isn't a game, despite what they call it, the fox warned more seriously. Riser won't play fair when his pride is at stake. Neither will we, Naruto thought, his resolve hardening as he drifted toward sleep. Neither will we. The raiding game arena materialized around them as the transportation circle completed its function. Kuo Academy stood exactly as they remembered it, though Naruto's enhanced senses could detect the subtle differences that marked it as a construct rather than the real location. It's a perfect replica, Issei marveled, looking around the club room that served as their base. The arena adapts to the agreed-upon location, Rias explained, already moving to the window to survey their surroundings. In this case, familiar territory gives both sides equal advantage, since Riser's Peerage has surely studied the layout extensively. A magical communication circle appeared in the center of the room, projecting the image of a silver-haired woman in an elaborate outfit. Greetings, competitors, she announced formally. I am Graphia Lucifuge, Queen of Searsex Lucifer, and I will serve as arbiter for this raiding game between House Grimori and House Phoenix. The rules are standard. Victory is achieved by defeating the opposing king or forcing their surrender. All raiding game regulations apply. The match will begin in 5 minutes. Please take your positions. As the projection faded, Rias gathered her peerage for final instructions. Remember your training, she said, her voice calm and confident. Trust yourselves and each other. We've prepared for this. And remember, Naruto added, Riser expects us to follow conventional tactics. Our unpredictability is our advantage. They broke into their assigned groups, Kiba and Kaneko preparing for their diversionary attack, Akeno readying for aerial support, while Naruto and Issei double-checked their equipment. Nervous? Naruto asked, noticing Issei's slightly shaking hands. Terrified, Issei admitted with a rueful grin. But also excited. 2 weeks ago, I was just a normal perverted high schooler. Now I'm fighting in a devil battle to save Bushu from a crappy marriage. Life takes some weird turns, Naruto agreed. Back home, I was preparing to fight a goddess. Now I'm here helping a devil princess win her freedom. Not how I expected my week to go. Their shared laughter eased some of the pre-battle tension. Across the room, Rias watched with approval, recognizing the value of such moments before conflict. A chime sounded throughout the arena, followed by Graphia's voice. The raiding game between Rias Grimori and Riser Phoenix will now commence. Competitors, begin. Move out, Rias commanded. Kiba and Kaneko departed first, slipping out through side exits to circle around toward their assigned positions. Akeno teleported to the school roof, preparing her aerial assault. Naruto and Issei remained with Rias, waiting for the diversionary attacks to begin before executing their infiltration. Through his connection to the shadow clone he'd sent ahead as a scout, Naruto monitored the initial encounters. Kiba had engaged 2 of Riser's pawns near the gymnasium, his increased speed keeping them on the defensive. Kaneko had encountered a rook and knight pair near the sports field. Her new fighting style allowing her to hold her own against the numerically superior opposition. It's working, Naruto reported. They're responding exactly as we predicted. Excellent, Rias replied. Akeno, begin your attack. Outside, the sky darkened as Akeno gathered her power. Lightning crashed down on the main school building where Intelligence suggested Riser had established his headquarters, forcing his ranged fighters to respond. Now, Rias signaled to Naruto and Issei. While their attention is divided, the 2 pawns slipped out through a pre-identified blind spot in the enemy's surveillance, using the cover of Akeno's electrical storm to mask their approach. They moved swiftly through the wooded area at the edge of campus, approaching Riser's territory from an unexpected angle. Remember, Naruto whispered as they reached the boundary, once we cross this line, we can promote. Wait until we're detected to do it. No sense revealing our enhanced powers too early. Issei nodded, his sacred gear already manifested on his arm, the green jewel pulsing with stored energy. They slipped across the boundary and immediately took cover behind a storage shed. Watching as several of Riser's pawns rushed to reinforce positions under attack. Shadow Clone Jutsu, Naruto murmured, creating a dozen clones that immediately transformed to resemble various members of Rias's peerage. The duplicates scattered in different directions, adding to the confusion as Riser's forces struggled to determine which threats were real. The diversion worked perfectly. Two of Riser's bishops emerged from the main building, attempting to counter what they perceived as a multi-pronged assault. Naruto and Issei seized the opportunity, dashing toward the now vulnerable entrance. Their luck ran out 20 meters from the door. A blast of fire erupted from an upper window, forcing them to dive for cover as Riser's queen, Yubeluna, spotted their approach. Promotion. Queen, Naruto called, feeling power surge through him as he assumed the versatility of the strongest piece. Beside him, Issei did the same. Well, Yubeluna called from above, purple flames dancing around her staff. The new pawn thinks he can challenge me. How amusing. She unleashed a barrage of explosive fire magic that tore apart the ground where they had been standing moments before. Naruto and Issei split up, attacking from different angles to divide her attention. Boost, 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 Issei chanted, the jewel on his gauntlet glowing brighter with each enhancement. Keep her busy, Naruto shouted, forming a swirling sphere of energy in his palm. Rasengan. He leapt toward Yubeluna, who barely managed to erect a defensive barrier in time. The Rasengan collided with the shield, creating a deafening explosion as the techniques cancelled each other out. The force of the blast sent both combatants tumbling through the air. Naruto recovered first, landing on his feet as Issei seized the opening to close distance with Yubeluna. Dragon shot, Issei cried, releasing a blast of concentrated power that caught the queen mid-recovery. The attack struck her directly, sending her crashing through a wall into the school building. Nice shot, Naruto called, already moving toward the entrance. Let's get inside before. A tremendous explosion erupted from within the building, and Yubeluna emerged. Singed but still battle-ready. Her expression had shifted from arrogance to cold fury. You'll pay for that, worms, she snarled, raising her staff as magical cirque. Less formed around her in complex patterns. Phoenix cheers may heal my wounds, but nothing will save you from what comes next. Naruto recognized the threat in her stance. This would be no ordinary attack. He quickly formed the hand signs for his most versatile defense. Wood style. Wood locking wall. Massive wooden beams erupted from the ground, forming a protective dome around himself and Issei just as Yubeluna released her attack. The explosion that followed was catastrophic, shattering windows throughout the arena and creating a crater where they stood. The wood structure groaned under the assault but held, charring but not breaking. Inside the protective dome, Issei stared at Naruto in shock. Wood style. Since when can you do that? A gift from the first Hokage, Naruto explained briefly. One of many techniques I inherited during the war. Outside, Yubeluna circled the dome, preparing another attack. Before she could release it, however, a bolt of lightning struck her from above, Akeno. Arriving to support their infiltration as planned. Era, picking on my Kohai. Akeno's voice carried a dangerous edge beneath its usual sweetness. That won't do at all. The two queens engaged in an aerial duel of devastating proportions, fire and lightning clashing in spectacular displays above the school grounds. Naruto collapsed his wooden barrier, giving Issei a quick nod. Akeno will keep her busy. We need to find Riser. They dashed into the building, encountering and quickly dispatching two pawns who attempted to block their path. As they reached the central staircase, a school-wide announcement echoed through the arena. Rias Grimori's rook has been eliminated, Graphia's voice intoned dispassionately. Kaneko, Issei murmured, concern evident in his voice. She did her part, Naruto reminded him. Though he felt the loss keenly as well. We need to make it count. They pressed on, fighting their way upward through increasingly skilled opposition. By the time they reached the third floor, the announcements had confirmed multiple eliminations on both sides. Riser Phoenix's 3 pawns and 1 knight have been eliminated. Rias Grimori's knight has been eliminated. The tide seemed to be turning in their favor until a particularly grim announcement. Rias Grimori's queen has been eliminated. Akeno lost. Issei's shock was palpable, but she's the strongest after Bushu. Yubeluna must have had more phoenix tears, Naruto reasoned, his expression hardening. Come on, we're close. They reached the student council room where intelligence had placed Riser's command center. The door stood open, revealing Riser lounging in the president's chair, looking supremely unconcerned despite the losses his peerage had suffered. Beside him stood his sister, Revel Phoenix, and his remaining bishop. The dimensional traveler arrives at last, Riser announced, not bothering to rise. Riser was beginning to think you'd lost your way. Just taking the scenic route, Naruto replied, stepping into the room with Issei at his side. Nice setup you've got here. Very presidential, fitting for the future head of House Grimori by marriage, wouldn't you say? Riser smirked. Though Riser must admit, your performance has exceeded expectations. You've managed to eliminate nearly half my peerage. We're just getting started, Issei declared, the boosted gear glowing brightly on his arm. Riser laughed. Bold words from Rias's pet pervert. Do you really think the two of you can defeat Riser? Even now, Yubeluna is hunting your precious king. Naruto's expression remained calm. You might want to check on that. As if on cue, Graphia's voice announced. Riser Phoenix's queen has been eliminated. Shock flashed across Riser's face before he mastered it. Impossible. Shadow clone. Naruto explained with a grin. While you were focused on us, one of my clones transformed into Issei and joined Rias. Your queen fell for the trap. Rage contorted Riser's features as he finally rose from his seat. You dare deceive Riser with such trickery. You will burn for this insolence. Flames erupted around him, far more intense than during their previous encounter. With a gesture, he sent his remaining bishop to engage them while he maintained position behind his sister. Still hiding behind others, Naruto taunted, easily dodging the bishop's attack before countering with a swift kick that sent her flying into a wall. Not very brave for someone so confident. Brother doesn't need to dirty his hands with the likes of you, Revel declared, stepping forward with her own flames manifesting. I'll handle this myself. Issei, take the bishop, Naruto directed. I've got the sister. On it. Issei engaged the recovering bishop, his boosted strength keeping her on the defensive. Naruto faced Revel, who launched a barrage of fireballs toward him. Rather than dodging, he moved straight through them, his body wreathed in a thin layer of chakra that deflected the worst of the heat. What? Revel gasped as he appeared before her, unharmed. How did you? Fire's kind of my specialty, Naruto said, forming a Rasengan that glowed with an unusual blue-white intensity. Wind release. Rasengan. Quote, the wind-enhanced sphere struck the floor at Revel's feet, creating a controlled explosion that sent her tumbling backward without causing serious injury. Before she could recover, Naruto appeared behind her, a kunai at her throat. Surrender, he suggested quietly. There's no need for you to get hurt here. Pride warred with practicality in Revel's expression before she reluctantly nodded. I surrender. Riser Phoenix's bishop has been eliminated, Graphia announced. Across the room, Issei had similarly overwhelmed his opponent, who disappeared in a flash of light as she was teleported from the arena. Now only Riser remained, his fury evident in the flames that now engulfed his entire body. You think this changes anything? He snarled. Riser cannot be defeated. Riser's immortality is absolute. We'll see about that, Naruto replied, entering sage mode with a brief moment of concentration. The natural energy flowed into him, enhancing his perception and physical abilities. Issei. Now, transfer. Issei shouted, placing his boosted gear on Naruto's shoulder and channeling the accumulated power into him. The surge of energy was like nothing Naruto had experienced before, raw, unfiltered power amplifying his already considerable reserves. His sage chakra blazed, the orange pigmentation around his eyes intensifying as he struggled to contain and direct the combined forces. This ends now, Riser, Naruto declared, forming a massive Rasengan that swirled with multiple chakra natures, wind, fire, water, earth, and lightning combined into a single devastating technique. Sage Art. Supreme Ultimate Rasengan. He lunged forward, the colossal sphere of energy aimed directly at Riser's chest. The Phoenix Air summoned his most powerful flames in defense, but the boosted Sage Rasengan tore through the firewall like paper, connecting with devastating impact. The explosion that followed shook the entire arena, blowing out the windows and collapsing portions of the ceiling. When the dust settled, Rias lay embedded in the far wall, his regeneration visibly struggling to repair the unprecedented damage to his body. How? He gasped, flames flickering weakly as they attempted to reconstruct his shattered form. Impossible. Nothing's impossible, Naruto said, approaching the fallen devil. Not when you're fighting for something that matters. Rias struggled to rise, his pride still unbroken despite his body's failure. Rias will not surrender. Then I'll finish this, Naruto declared, forming another, smaller Rasengan. Before he could deliver the final blow, however, a communication circle appeared between them. Enough, came Rias's voice. He's beaten, Naruto. There's no need for further damage. Naruto hesitated, then allowed the Rasengan to dissipate. Your call, Bushu. Rias's eyes widened at this unexpected mercy. You, spare Rias. After all this was never about hurting you, Rias's voice explained. It was about proving my Peerage's strength and earning my freedom. The Phoenix heir slumped back, his regeneration finally stabilizing enough to repair his critical injuries. Rias acknowledges your victory. Rias Gremory. The engagement is broken. Rias Gremory is victorious, Grafia announced, her usually neutral tone carrying a hint of surprise. The rating game is concluded. Light enveloped the arena as the transportation circles activated, returning all participants to the observation area. Naruto found himself materializing alongside Issei in a luxurious viewing box where the rest of Rias's peerage waited, looking battered but triumphant. We did it, Issei exulted, pumping his fist in the air. Hiba clapped Naruto on the shoulder, his uniform torn but his smile intact. That final attack was incredible. I've never seen anything like it. None of us have, Kaneko agreed quietly, sporting several bandages but otherwise recovered. Akano approached, her usual serene expression replaced by genuine excitement. Era, Naruto-kun. You've certainly proven your worth as our fellow pawn. Naruto accepted their congratulations with a tired smile, the combined exertion of Sage Mode, Issei's power transfer, and the massive Rasengan having drained even his formidable reserves. Where's Rias? Here, came her voice from behind him. Naruto turned to see Rias entering the viewing box. Her crimson hair slightly disheveled but her eyes bright with triumph and something more personal as they met his. Before he could speak, she closed the distance between them and threw her arms around him in a fierce embrace. Thank you, she whispered against his ear. For everything. Naruto returned the embrace, suddenly aware of how perfectly she fit against him. We all did it together. He reminded her. Just like we planned. She drew back slightly, her smile radiant. Yes, but your training made it possible. Your techniques, your strategies. Our teamwork, Naruto corrected gently. That's what won today. Rias nodded, acknowledging the truth in his words. Around them, the rest of the peerage watched with knowing smiles, even Issei seeming genuine. Nelly happy for them despite his usual jealousy where beautiful women were concerned. The moment was interrupted by the arrival of Searzex, accompanied by Grafia and several other high-ranking devils Naruto didn't recognize. Congratulations, Rias, Searzex said warmly. A most impressive victory. Thank you, brother, Rias replied, stepping back from Naruto but remaining close to his side. And to you, Naruto Uzumaki. Searzex continued, his gaze evaluative but approving. You've proven yourself a worthy addition to my sister's peerage. That final technique, most extraordinary. Naruto inclined his head in acknowledgement. Just doing what I promised I would. Indeed. Searzex turned to address the entire group. There will be a celebration tonight to honor your victory. The great houses will be in attendance. It's not every day that an undefeated champion falls. Will Rias be there? Hiba asked with understandable concern. No, Searzex assured them. He has requested privacy to recover. Both physically and emotionally, I suspect. As the others discussed the upcoming celebration, Naruto found himself drawn to the window overlooking the transportation area where defeated competitors emerged. Rias stood there, supported by his sister Revel, his expression a complex mixture of anger, disbelief, and something that might have been respect as he glanced up toward the viewing box. Their eyes met briefly across the distance. Naruto offered a small nod, not mocking, but acknowledging a worthy opponent. After a moment, Rias returned the gesture before turning away, his shoulders straight despite his defeat. Noble of you, Kurama commented within Naruto's mind. Considering how obnoxious he was, everyone deserves a chance to learn and grow from defeat, Naruto replied silently. I've been on the losing side enough times to know that. Speaking of learning, the fox continued more seriously, did you notice anything unusual during that final attack? You mean the way the natural energy reacted when mixed with Issei's sacred gear power? Yeah, I felt it. Almost like a dimensional resonance. Precisely, Kurama confirmed. For a moment, I sensed our home world, faint, distant, but definitely there. The combination of energies temporarily thinned the barriers between dimensions. Naruto's heart quickened at this revelation. So we might have found a way home. Perhaps, the fox cautioned. But it would require specific conditions and tremendous power. Not something we could attempt casually. Their internal conversation was interrupted as Rias appeared at his side, her hand gently touching his arm. Everything all right? You seem lost in thought. Just processing everything, Naruto said, not quite ready to share Kurama's observation until he understood it better. It's been a busy day. And it's not over yet, Rias reminded him with a smile. We have a celebration to attend. Her expression softened. But before that, I wanted to thank you privately. Not just for your power in the raiding game, but for showing me what real freedom means. I didn't do anything special, Naruto demurred. You already had the strength inside you. Perhaps, Rias acknowledged, but sometimes we need someone else to help us see it. She hesitated, then continued more softly. After the celebration tonight, I'd like to talk more about the future. About possibilities. The warmth in her eyes made her meaning clear, sending a flutter through Naruto's chest. I'd like that too. Their moment was interrupted by Issei's enthusiastic call from across the room. Bushu, Naruto, they're saying there'll be a feast with all kinds of amazing food. Rias laughed, the sound light and genuinely happy. We should join the others before Issei explodes from excitement. As they turned to rejoin the group, Naruto felt a strange prickling at the back of his neck, a subtle disturbance in the natural energy that shouldn't have been possible inside the controlled environment of the Devil headquarters. He paused, extending his senses cautiously. There it was again, a faint ripple, like the one he'd felt when first arriving in this dimension, but smaller and more controlled. Naruto, Rias questioned, noticing his sudden alertness. Before he could respond, an alarm blared throughout the complex, followed by Graphia's voice on the communication system. Security breach in the lower archives. All available personnel respond immediately. This is not a drill. Searsek straightened, his casual demeanor instantly replaced by the authoritative presence of a Devil King. Stay here, he commanded, already moving toward the exit with Graphia. Whatever this is, it's no coincidence it's happening now. But Naruto had already sensed what was coming. It's a dimensional disturbance, he called after Searsek, similar to how I arrived, but more controlled, more purposeful. Searsek paused, turning back with narrowed eyes. Are you certain? Absolutely, Naruto confirmed. I can feel it resonating with my own chakra. Then you're coming with me, Searsek decided. The rest of you, remain here under guard. No, Rias objected firmly. If this involves dimensions, it concerns Naruto directly. Which means it concerns my peerage. We're coming too. A brief battle of wills played out silently between the siblings before Searsek conceded with a curt nod. Stay behind us and follow instructions immediately if given. This could be dangerous. They moved swiftly through the complex, descending to levels Naruto hadn't known existed. The deeper they went, the stronger the dimensional disturbance became, prickling along his skin like static electricity. Something's trying to force its way through, Kurama warned. Something powerful. From our world, Naruto asked hopefully. No, the fox replied grimly. Something else. Something ancient. They reached a massive vault door that stood ajar, the sophisticated magical locks shattered from within. Beyond lay an archive of forbidden artifacts and texts, many now scattered across the floor. In the center of the room stood 5 figures in hooded robes, arranged in a pentagram around a swirling vortex of energy that hovered in midair. Stop immediately, Sears X commanded, power radiating from him in palpable waves. By order of Lucifer, the hooded figures turned as one, revealing faces marked with intricate sigils that pulsed with unearthly light. The Boundless One comes, their leader intoned, voice resonating with unnatural harmonics. The dimensional traveler has weakened the barriers. The way is prepared. Naruto stepped forward, instinctively drawing on Kurama's chakra as golden energy flickered across his skin. What are you talking about? What dimensional traveler? You, the cultist replied, eyes fixing on Naruto with fanatical intensity. The Sage of Six Paths. The bridge between worlds. The harbinger of his return. I don't know what you're talking about, Naruto said, even as unease prickled down his spine. I'm just a shinobi who got pulled into the wrong dimension. There are no accidents in the cosmic design, the cultist declared. Your arrival was foretold. Your power was required. The dimensional tear you created, the energies you manipulated during your battle, all necessary components for our summoning. Sears X moved to attack, but before he could strike, the vortex pulsed violently, expanding outward in a shockwave that knocked everyone back. The cultists began chanting in an ancient language that hurt Naruto's ears, their voices blending into a single droning tone. We need to stop them. Naruto shouted over the rising noise, forming a Rasengan in his palm. No, Graphia called, her usually composed face showing alarm. A direct energy attack might destabilize the portal further. But it was too late. The vortex expanded again, its edges crystallizing into a defined gateway. Through its translucent surface, a shadowy figure could be seen approaching from the other side, massive, humanoid, but with proportions that seemed wrong, disturbing. He comes, the cultists chanted in unison. Moros, the Boundless One, harbinger of chaos, comes to claim what is his. Moros, Sears X echoed, genuine fear flashing across his face. That's impossible. He was sealed away eons ago, beyond the reach of any summoning. Not anymore, the lead cultist exulted. The dimensional traveler's unique energy signature provided the key we needed. The lock is broken. The way is open. Naruto didn't wait for further explanation. Entering Sage mode with practiced speed, he charged toward the portal, hands already forming seals for a containment jutsu. I'll try to collapse it. Naruto, wait, Rias called, but he was already channeling natural energy into the portal's structure, attempting to disrupt its stability. For a moment, it seemed to work. The gateway flickered, its edges losing definition. The cultists cried out in alarm, intensifying their chanting. Then, without warning, a massive hand thrust through the weakened barrier, seizing Naruto by the throat. The hand was enormous, gray-skinned and covered in pulsing veins that glowed with an inner light. It lifted Naruto off the ground effortlessly, constricting his airway as a voice like grinding stone resonated through the portal. The sage's air, it rumbled with terrible recognition. How fitting that you should be the key to my return. Naruto struggled against the grip, trying to summon Kurama's chakra, but the contact with the entity seemed to disrupt his energy control. Through his fading vision, he saw Rias and the others launching attacks against the arm, their most powerful techniques seeming to have minimal effect. Just as consciousness began to slip away, Sears X appeared beside him. Hands glowing with concentrated power of destruction unlike anything Naruto had seen from Rias. The Devil King drove his power directly into the massive arm, finally forcing it to release its grip. Naruto fell to the ground, gasping for air as Sears X continued his assault, gradually forcing the arm back through the portal. The cultists screamed in dismay, several rushing forward as if to physically prevent their deity's retreat. Now, Graphia, Sears X commanded. The silver-haired queen activated a complex magic circle that surrounded the portal, constraining and gradually compressing it. The gateway began to shrink, the arm withdrawing fully as the opening narrowed. This is merely a delay, the voice boomed from beyond the closing portal. I have tasted this world now. I have felt its energies. I will return, and when I do, all dimensions will bow before Moros. With a final pulse of energy, the portal collapsed completely, leaving behind only a faint shimmer in the air where it had stood. The cultists wailed in despair, several collapsing to their knees while others turned to flee. Secure them, Sears X ordered, and devil guards materialized from magic circles to apprehend the cultists. Naruto pushed himself to his feet, still rubbing his throat where bruises were already forming despite his accelerated healing. What was that thing? Searsex's expression was grim. A primordial entity from before the three factions emerged. Moros was sealed away by the original Satan and God during their only collaborative effort, deemed too danger. Oust to exist in any accessible dimension. And these cultists were trying to bring it back. Why? Some worship chaos for its own sake, Graphia explained, examining the residual energy patterns in the air. Others believe that destroying the current order will allow them to rule what follows. Rias approached Naruto, her face pale with concern as she examined his injuries. Are you all right? When that thing grabbed you? I'll be fine, Naruto assured her, though the touch of the entity had left a cold sensation that persisted even now. But we have a problem. That thing. Moros, it recognized me. Or rather, it recognized something about my power. The sage's heir, Searsex repeated the entity's words. It knew what you are. Which means its influence extends across dimensions, Akeno concluded, her usual playfulness absent. It has awareness of Naruto's world as well as ours. Not just awareness, Naruto corrected grimly. The way it spoke, I think it's been there before. And I think it wants to go back. A heavy silence fell over the group as the implications sank in. Their victory over Riser, which had seemed so important hours ago, now felt insignificant compared to this new threat. The celebration will be postponed, Searsex decided. We need to understand what happened here. These cultists must be interrogated, the residual energies analyzed. He turned to Naruto, his expression serious. And we need to know everything about your arrival in our world. Every detail, no matter how insignificant it might seem. If Moros is truly attempting to breach dimensional barriers, we may face a threat greater than anything since the Great War. Naruto nodded, his mind already racing with implications. If Moros could travel between dimensions, then both his new friends Heir and everyone he'd left behind in the Hidden Leaf would be in danger. I'll tell you everything I can, he promised. But first, we need to make sure these cultists don't have any more surprises waiting. As they began securing the archive and processing the captured cultists, Naruto caught Rias watching him with an expression of mixed concern and determination. So much for our celebration, she said quietly when he approached. We'll have it another time, Naruto promised, reaching out to squeeze her hand briefly. After we figure out what all this means. Rias returned the gesture, her fingers intertwining with his. I suppose saving multiple dimensions takes priority over a party. Just slightly, Naruto agreed with a half-smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. The memory of Moros's touch lingered, along with the disturbing sense that the entity had been waiting for him, that somehow, his arrival in this world had been part of a larger design he couldn't yet comprehend. As they left the archive, the victorious atmosphere of earlier completely dispelled, Naruto couldn't shake the feeling that winning the rating game had been the easy part. The real battle, the one that might determine the fate of both his worlds, was just beginning. Chapter 2 End.